wishes that she could like live in a place where she could like breathe and not feel like she's drowning. I'm like, what's that like?
Yeah, what is that like? Because it's so weird because the air is so thick.
Yeah.
Because it's so humid all the time. It's like
thick.
it's like you're breathing through Jello sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, but then I've been to Colorado one time and the air wasn't as humid because it was high up in the mountains, and I was like, it feels crisp.
Everything feels so crisp, right?
Yeah, like it's like every breath feels like almost like it hurts because it's so sharp. Like the breath is sharp, the air is sharp there.
I'm not used to breathing this nice clean air.
Yeah,
this nice crisp air.
Oh man, gross. It's gross. It really, and like
It's so gross.
And for some reason they turned off the AC in here. It's been off for, I mean, it's
in
been
here?
Not in here, but like in the building, they've been turning the AC off earlier or not turning it down as low because it's about to be summer. And so I guess they're saving power.
Wait, no, it should. That's when the AC should turn on.
I don't know. All I know is it's been a lot hotter in here recently.
It has.
So, and they took our fan out.
They did.
So we can't air out the room before we start.
But also, so this morning it was hot outside and I was going to wear a sweater, and then with the sweater on in my room is already hot. Like, I don't know what's wrong with our house and the AC. My parents say nothing's wrong with it, but my room is obviously hotter than all of the other rooms.
I feel the same exact way, and I don't understand what it is. It's like any other room will be cold.
And it's not like the electronics in my room or anything, because my brother has way more. He uses like his computer and he has a huge TV in there and all these things, and his room is fine. It's always nice and cool in there. My room is always hot. So I put on a sweater and I was like, I can't do this. I'm already sweating in my room. It's going to be worse outside. And then I get to school, all of the classrooms are freaking cold, and then the day gets colder, and now I'm just going to freeze. So
yeah, and now you hypothermia.
And now And now hypothermia.
Yeah. And now hypothermia. But yeah, this is Media for the Intellectually Impoverished.
I'm Randy.
I'm Taylor.
And this is where we enrich your mediocre lives.
Oh yeah, boys.
And girls.
And girls. And theys.
And theys.
Thems. Well, this is Media for the Intellectually Impoverished. Our topic today is science fiction.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sci-fi, and then I was going to say that that's short for science fiction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to go first.
Oh, you're actually going to go first?
I am. Yeah. Because
Are you just really excited?
No, it's just because I think I went second last time, right?
So if you went... No.
Then I go first. If I went second last time, then I go first.
You go first.
But I also went first last time.
You did go first last time.
But I also want to go first today.
Okay, you can go first.
Yes.
I'm not going to fight you hard on that. Randy has a headache.
Bumping into things.
Randy needs that ibuprofen to kick in.
You took some, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Take the today's sponsor, headaches.
Headaches?
Coming at you when you least expect it and when you really don't need them. Headaches. Yeah, so science fiction. Actually, let's define what science fiction is.
Okay.
Because, do you want me to do it?
Do you have a definition?
No, do you have a definition?
Yeah, of course I have a definition. Are you kidding me? Who do you think Randy is?
If not the definition haver.
Not the definition haver. I was talking to one of my, this is off topic, but I was talking to one of my high school friends the other day. And I referred to myself as Randy, and he was like, "Who's Randy?" And I was like, "Oh, that's what my college friends call me."
You wouldn't. That's what cool people call me. You wouldn't know.
But like, he thought it was so strange, and I went home and I told my boyfriend about it, and he was like, "That's not even the strange part. He doesn't even know that they call you Randaloni." Like,
that one hasn't even gotten the recognition it deserves.
Okay. So science fiction is like, I guess it can be classified as like any media, whether in like book form or video game or anything. It's a genre that is based in a future time where technology has advanced past the point of what we have today. That's basically my definition of it.
Cool. I have a really interesting take on it because I'm talking about the game BioShock.
Okay, I've heard of it.
Yeah, released in 2007 by 2K Games, which you would know because they make a lot of the sports games these days.
Okay.
2K Sports is a subdivision of them, I believe. But yeah, released by 2K Games. BioShock is it's like a retro sci-fi.
Interesting.
Let me give you, I wrote a synopsis because we haven't been doing that for a long time.
Oh, no, we haven't. And I wrote a synopsis too.
No
so
way,
we're
dude.
doing
Great minds
great.
great minds think alike, but fools rarely differ. I think that we're the fools.
I think we are too.
So, synopsis of BioShock. Jack is the sole survivor of a plane crash in the middle of the ocean. When swimming to the closest shore, he discovers the underwater utopia, Rapture. Once bright and shiny, it is now a rundown dystopia. Met immediately by a resistance intending to take down the creator of Rapture, Jack embarks, learning that there are many secrets down in the deep blue sea. Ooh.
So yours is unveiling secrets as well. Do all movies? No, all movies don't unveil secrets.
Not all movies.
But I feel like it's a sci-fi thing that kind of like unveils secrets. There's a lot of like really small things that I feel like can be classified under science fiction. I mean, you have like, it takes place in the future, and usually it's like a dystopian, or maybe it can be a utopia. It deals with like space exploration and like time travel. Those things are usually, but also I think like secret uncovering, and I also feel like you see symbolism a lot in science fiction. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, so the like I said, it's an underwater utopia.
Okay.
And so the lore behind it is that this guy created it as like a society where the rich could go and live free of like the morality of government or whatever. And it's supposed to be like this perfect place where a lot of rich people hang out, and like there's just money flowing. It's very 1950s perfect world.
Okay. So that's how it's retro.
Yes, and
Okay.
so it was built in the 1940s in the lore. It was built in the 1940s underwater.
How did they build it in the 1940s?
It's science fiction.
Well, it's true, but like, okay.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I don't like about science fiction. I'll get into that when I start talking, but like, there's too many questions.
Too many
I
questions.
want to know the answers. But go ahead.
So basically, its aesthetic is 1940s scuba.
Okay.
So lots of rivets, lots of like circle designs, very round shapes. Like for the physical like built parts of it, if that makes sense. So like the actual architecture itself is very scuba-esque underwater. You have like those rounded windows that kind of you see at aquariums.
Okay.
Everything's like very brass built. It's like industrial scuba diving.
Okay.
And so I've always thought that was a really interesting like art design. It was a very special way to take it, because initially it was supposed to be like a space story, and that like you were supposed to be on a spaceship instead, but then they switched it to underwater, which I thought was a brilliant take, because like you don't see any games set like underwater that aren't just like scuba diving games.
Yeah.
And so it's really unique in that aspect. But do you have a thing?
I was just gonna say, we just don't normally do a lot of things underwater anyways. I feel like, how many movies can you think off the top of your head that like discuss like the exploration of underwater things? We have so many movies that explain like space.
Yeah, the thing is, because space is intriguing because it's not visible to us like regularly. Does that make sense? Because like we see the ocean, we see photos of the ocean. If you live on the coast, you see the ocean so much, and to them it like it's a desensitization of it. But space is like no one, very few people have been to space if you count versus the entire population.
It's true, but also like, isn't like, don't we know more about space, or we know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah. And the surface of Mars that we know about the bottom of the ocean, I think.
Really?
I think so.
No, we do not know more about the surface of Mars.
Hey Siri. Yes, we know more about the surface of Mars than the bottom of the ocean.
We need to get our shit together.
Yeah.
I didn't want to curse, but then I couldn't think of another word. But we need, like, honestly, why don't we know enough about the bottom of the ocean?
Well, because here's the thing. The problem with the bottom of the ocean is the immense amount of pressure,
yeah.
right? When you go to space, it's the lack of pressure. And so that's easier to deal with because, like, pressure, there is an absolute, in the same idea, there's an absolute zero of cold. Not that we could survive it, but there's an absolute zero of pressure, right? Pressure can continue to be added for as much weight as you can put.
Yeah.
Right? And so we in our typical day-to-day life are closer to the absolute zero of pressure than we are to that than we will ever be to the absolute of like absolute end of pressure. Does that make sense?
Which there is no end, because it would just be.
Mm-hmm. So that's why we know more about space than we do about Earth.
Yeah, but we should learn. There's stuff down there.
There's stuff down there, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I remember reading recently that like there was this species of fish that people just thought were dead for forever.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And then it just washed up on shore, and they're like, oh,
it's alive.
It's alive, I guess.
Also, TikTok, somebody said, I have a lot of like time traveling, like science stuff on my For You page because I like science and stuff. But somebody who claims to be a time traveler says that in the year 2021, we're going to find like the biggest creature that's like 100 times bigger than the blue whale or something, that's like living in the depths of the ocean, and it's going to rise up, and it's going to be like a kraken or something. Can't wait for that to happen.
I love those accounts because they're so unbelievably outrageous, and it's like at the same time it's like, but it could happen.
But it could happen. Okay, anyways, get back. I think you're right. I think the bottom of the ocean is, even though we don't know much about it, I think that's why it's such a great topic for a video game, a science fiction video game.
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's very post-apocalyptic though, but like it's a lovely style of 1940s. So like you got jukeboxes and you've got like, I don't know if that's 1940s. Is that 40s? That's
I don't know, but that's a time I want to live in.
50s-ish, 40s, 50s. Got jukeboxes, and you've got like casinos, and you've got,
we have casinos today.
Yeah, but like old style casinos, and everything, like the world building is very pleasant because I just love that style of, it's very American, like idealism.
That's what like the golden age was. Like that's what everyone like longs for, is the big house with the 2.5 kids and the white picket fence.
Yeah, 2.5 kids. That's all I want. And if I get the other half of the kid, what do I do with the other half of the kid?
You give it to another family that needs a half of a kid.
Where do you keep which half do I keep? Which half do they get?
Wait, how are you cutting it in half?
Are we going down the middle? Or are we going across?
This got too dark. Talk about your video game.
Okay, it's not going to get much better.
If that's okay.
No, I like that aesthetic a lot. So the sort of problem, right, why the society fell apart was because the creator of Rapture found this this substance called he dubbed Adam, which was created by these sea slugs at the bottom of the sea. Right, and it had the ability to genetically modify humans to give them outrageous powers, because video games and fun sci-fi stuff. And so you could refine this stuff called Adam into, what were they called?
Is it spelled Adam like
the name, like ADAM?
Okay.
You could refine Adam into plasmids, which give you special powers, right?
Okay.
And so as you progress through the game, you unlock more plasmids, and so it's like a shooter style kind of game, like a dungeon crawler shooter with a little bit of stealth, like old stealth, because it came out in 2007. And
wow, it's old.
Yeah.
Why did I think that was new?
No, 2007. I was about to say 2013 years ago. It was 14 years ago.
Didn't a game just come out that's called like BioShock? That's new?
BioShock Infinite was the most recent one. I believe there's a tiny little talk about a new BioShock game coming out, but I do not believe the newest BioShock game has come out yet.
Never mind.
Okay, back to the BioShock. What was I talking about?
Talking about Adam.
Yes, Adam. And so what happened is everybody sort of became obsessed and addicted to this Adam stuff, so much so that society tore itself apart. Right? People were killing each other over it and all that kind of stuff.
They're tearing each other apart.
And so the way that he mass-produced Adam was he would take orphaned little girls. It was never really clear whether or not he killed the parents or not, or at least not when I played through it. But he took the orphaned little girls, and he would take those slugs and put them like in their stomach. And they would continually produce more and more Adam, which he could then refine. The science isn't exactly sound.
Okay. No, and that's how it usually is in science fiction, but okay.
So Yeah, these they were called Little Sisters, right?
Okay.
And so the most iconic character from this is called Big Daddy, right?
I don't like it.
So it's Little Sisters and Big Daddy. And so Big Daddy is this genetically created creature whose sole purpose is to protect a little sister. You're assigned a little sister and you protect a little sister. And so the way that they're designed is they're like old-fashioned scuba gear, but like
Ooh, nice.
like demented old-fashioned scuba gear. So like they have one of their arms is a drill or another type of weapon, and then the other one holds a gun. And it's really, really interesting character design because it fits that theme of like because they can go anywhere. You see them swimming across, like not swimming, but sort of walking across the ocean floor outside of these tubes. And like their ability, like they're just powerhouses, you know?
Okay.
And so they protect the little sisters so that the atom can continue to be created.
Yeah.
And so when you first meet a little sister after you kill its big daddy, you don't like it, do you?
I don't.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't name the characters.
I know you didn't, but I don't like it.
After you kill the big daddy, you are told by the guy who's basically recruited you, his name is Atlas, he's like, hey, kill it. Because if you kill it, then you can take its atom. And then you can use the atom to get better. Well, then you're intercepted by like a doctor who's like, hey, don't kill it. Here, I've created a way to save it. And so there's like a moral choice. You can either kill them and gain a lot of atom at once and then spend that to increase your abilities and such, or save it, get a little bit of atom, but then reap greater rewards in the long run.
Okay.
And so it's a really interesting like moral choice and one of the hardest moral choices in like almost any, because you're killing a kid.
Yeah.
You're straight up killing a kid. I think you like turn it into a fish or something. Like it turns into something else. And so like that moral decision is one of the hardest ones I've ever had to make in a game. But it's so.
Did you kill the kid?
I did. And on one, because I had to do a playthrough where I killed the kid. I had to see what happened when you killed the kids.
I want to know what your first choice was.
My first choice was
to kill the kid, or did you?
Well, because so the way it works is the first one, like you can kill the kid because you don't really know exactly what's going on. Okay. You just sort of kill the kid. And then after that one, you're given the ability to save all the kids.
Oh, okay.
So the first one is sort of like a freebie.
Get a freebie. Oh my God.
I was telling you, it didn't get much better.
It didn't.
We were talking about killing kids. I kept that pace going. Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, whether or not you kill the little sisters changes the ending of the game. And so, yeah, you as the character, you continue along and you are fighting and trying to get to the creator of Rapture so you can take him down. And it's really like the whole way the game plays is really interesting because you can get all these special abilities to mess around with and you can combine them in really interesting ways. Like there's an ability where you can use electricity and you can shock people, but if you shock any spot that's got water on it, which is a lot of spots because you're underwater.
No, really?
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Lots of water underwater.
Lots of water.
If you shock the water, anyone standing in the water gets shocked. You can freeze the water, make people slip. You can freeze characters and then break them with your weapon. It was really like a breakthrough in sort of RPG shoot 'em up style games because of the way that it used these abilities, right? Like whatever style you wanted to play, you could. There's ways to incapacitate enemies where like you can hypnotize them or make them fight for you, or you can go like the brutal, very strong mode where you just whack people with the weapon that you have. I think you just have like a wrench. Yeah, I've always thought that this style is so interesting. There's two sequels to the game. They kind of both fit that idea of like retro sci-fi. Mm-hmm. The second game is pretty much a direct sequel to the original BioShock, but you play as a big daddy protecting a little sister, or finding your little. I don't remember exactly the situation. But then in BioShock Infinite, it's sort of not really a sequel. It's more of like a successor to the game. It's instead of like an underwater 50s utopia, it's like a colonial American utopia.
That's cool.
Up in the sky.
What the heck?
Yep. And so the big daddies are replaced by these giant birds. And it's...
Are they bald eagles?
I think so.
No.
I'm pretty sure they are. We're here.
America.
And so, yeah, like they did a really, really good job with this one of, I think just the style and the art design is really where this game stands out in the sci-fi community because you do not see people like when you think of sci-fi and you see sci-fi, you just think of like aliens, space,
You think
time
of
travel,
space, yeah.
and it's like all that stuff, and it's so, I hate to say it, but it's really overused.
Really?
Like that's,
Okay.
I think so. I think that too many people are doing it, and it's very stereotypical. It's like Star Trek, Star Wars, just going to different planets, seeing aliens and stuff. And of course, every sort of version of the different planets, it's always really creative and stuff. But it's like, it's the same kind of thing. Like it's just more of space, you know. But we don't.
Space.
I sure, whatever. You're never gonna see it.
I will.
You will.
I will. You know, I wanted to be an
Randy
astronaut.
goes to space.
I wanted to be an astronaut. I really did.
And then math.
But no, I love math.
Oh, okay.
That was the part that I was going to be fine. I didn't want to exercise.
That's the part that gets you.
I don't want to do that.
No one wants to exercise to get to space. You just want to get to space.
I could do all the math. Don't worry about that. I don't want to exercise.
Nope, no exercise for me. But yeah, you don't see very many people touch on this idea of like science fiction. Like
It doesn't involve space.
that doesn't involve space as much. And if it doesn't, it's typically like futuristic science or like technology. I just thought it was a really interesting take to take it underwater like that.
You also, I mean, it's also an advancement in technology. Like you have to say that because we don't have the technology to build a city underwater.
No.
Or create this atom that gives us powers. Like that's not. So that goes into science fiction. That it's like it's advanced technology.
Yeah, and I just love the direction that they do, because they, like I said in the beginning, it was going to be set in space.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sort of went. I think it took like 5 years of production, and then they sent it out to playtest, and then they got really harsh critical feedback, and then they had to go back and redesign a whole bunch of stuff again, and then it released in 2007, and it was great. It's considered one of the best like video games.
Interesting. I want to play it now because I just want to see it, but also I don't like those kinds of games.
It is. You can play it on a really easy difficulty. I always think it's funny because it was one of the first sort of like RPG shooters styles like this, that wasn't just like, you know, like Call of Duty or whatever. And so when it's selecting your difficulty, it's not easy, normal, hard, extremely hard, or whatever. It's like based on how many shooters you've played. And so it's like, I'm not familiar with shooters. I'm familiar with shooters. I'm really good at shooters and stuff like that. And that's
cool. Why don't we do that today?
Because it is not standard. It was because people have become accustomed to the way that we design difficulty levels and name them.
That would be so much easier for me because I'd be like, I have no idea what a shooter game is, but I want to play.
Yeah.
That would be me, the absolute easiest level.
So
everything is done for me.
Everything is done for, yes, all of the aiming is all done. It just click.
That's called watching a Let's Play.
Yeah. But yeah, I really encourage you to just, if not play the game, like look into it. There's also like a museum mode in the game. Once you beat it, you can kind of, at least in the remastered version, you can purchase, because they remastered BioShock 1 and 2, and I believe they remastered Infinite for the PS4. And you can sell them. They sold them all in the BioShock collection. Okay. You can get all 3 games in one, which is totally worth it.
For the PS4 or for what?
PS4. Okay. PS4 and Xbox One, I believe. And it is so worth it. All 3 games are really, really well made. They're very different in like tone and story, but they're all really fun and really, really beautiful styles.
See, I just want to, because the way that I'm imagining it in my head is so beautiful, and it's probably like the graphics and everything probably aren't like what
Take
I
a look
see
at the
in my
concept
head.
art. Take a look at the concept art if you just want to see that. It's very dark and grimy.
Yeah.
But like you see what it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really interesting to see what it was. Like, but you're seeing it as after society had fallen apart.
Mm-hmm. Man, I want to see it as it was.
Mm-hmm. There might be a concept art of that. But there is like I said, there is a museum mode in the remaster where you can go and look at all of the models and read a little bit about the design of them and look at some concept art. And it's a really, really cool thing that I think that I think more games should have.
No, yeah. Sounds really interesting.
Randy's random thought of the day. Interesting.
What were we we talking about? We were in the library and Josh had said something and I was like, I was literally, oh. I remembered it. Because we were talking about therapy because we needed therapy. And Josh said something like, I just have to like commit a crime and then I'll get like a free psychiatrist, right? And I was like, I was literally thinking about that on the way to school today. Like, if I just do something really crazy, like the courts will say I have to go to therapy. And then free therapy. So
Is it free though? Someone's got to pay for it.
oh yeah, I'm not paying for it. Somebody, the taxpayers are going to pay for it.
Yeah, you taxpayers, pay for my therapy.
Pay for my
I'll commit a crime, you pay for my
But that's Randy's random thought of the day.
Randy's random thought of the day. Wow, that was interesting.
This needs to be a thing.
Oh, it is.
Perfect. It needs to be. I can be in the middle of the episode. I was like, it needs to be at the beginning. No, as long as we have the sting, you know, it can be wherever it wants to be.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to my thing. I'm gonna talk about Blade Runner 2049.
Oh.
Have you ever seen it?
Ask me again.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Why am I not surprised?
Bro, the chances that I've seen any movie is...
But sometimes, like, I really thought with this one, because this one's like a big, like, action movie, and, like, I thought you'd like it, but...
I mean, I'll be honest, I've always... It's another one of those ones that I'm like, I want to see it. I think it's supposed to be great.
Gorgeous. It's great. So, here's the thing. I get on my soapbox now.
Well, get on your soapbox. Box full of soap.
Box full of soap. How many soaps you
How
got in
many
that box? Yes!
It was what, like 15, 16
That
episodes
was the
waiting?
first episode. Wasn't that the first episode?
That was the first episode.
We brought it. Okay, and that's it. That's a wrap.
Okay, I'm sorry, but we're never coming back. We had full
This
circle.
is the last episode.
No, that's the last, like, this is it. I'll catch you guys next. Never, I guess.
Catch you guys never.
Wait, don't go. Don't go.
Fasha,
Where are you going?
how many bits can we fit in 1 minute?
What was what we came up with? Last time it was the monkey was monkey.
Oh god.
Boo. Boo, I boo. I boo all of that. It's so stupid.
No, okay, so Blade Runner, it's 2049, because there is a one that comes before it. The first one that came out, just original, just called Blade Runner, it came out in 1982, and that movie took place in 2019.
Oh,
so, like,
shoot.
for them, it was like 20, 40 years into the future. We still don't have flying cars, so...
Yeah, and it's really upsetting because we were supposed to have them in 2013, according to Back to the Future.
Yeah. It's really upsetting. And so now in 2049, they still have flying cars, but they had something else that I can't remember right now. I had watched the movie over the weekend with my boyfriend, and he was like, no.
You and your boyfriend always watching movies.
He makes me watch movies.
Wow.
I mean...
I thought it'd be the other way around.
I make him watch Disney movies because I like Disney movies. He likes action movies, and so he's always making me watch action movies. Anyway, so Blade Runner 2049 is the sequel to the original Blade Runner that came out in 1982. It was... I meant to look up the man's name on how to pronounce it. I'm sorry if I get it wrong. It's Denis Villeneuve?
Hey Siri. Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve is a French-Canadian film director, producer, and screenwriter. Would you like to hear more?
No, take me to the website.
Take me to the website.
Sorry.
Villeneuve. Is that how she pronounced it, right?
Yeah, but who knows if Siri's right? But sure, Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
What's his first name?
Dennis.
Sorry, Dennis.
Sorry, Dennis. We're just pissing all these people off.
I think it's my favorite bit that we do, so we don't know how to pronounce. Because I got told off because we apparently I called Jean-Claude Van Damme Gene. And so, I don't remember doing that, but I'm sorry.
I do not either, and I feel like I would have caught that.
I'm pretty sure I said Jean. I'm pretty good with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude.
I might have called him, because I would never have said Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Because that just sounds like ew.
Yeah, right? Like, who would name their kid Jean?
Jean.
Sorry to all the Jeans that listen to our podcast. Your name is really pretty. I just
It's real pretty.
Yeah, we like jeans.
I do like jeans.
I
like skinny jeans.
Yeah, jeans are nice.
actually flopped, apparently, which I didn't realize, because after watching it, this is a beautiful movie. It's a little long. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes long, but it's a beautiful movie. I love the story in it, and I'll get into all of the little bits and details on why it makes it sci-fi and just how incredible it is. But it had a budget, or like they spent $300 million on it to make it, and that was like the production, and that was the marketing and the advertising and all those things, and it only made $250 million. So it was $50 million underneath how much it spent. So it didn't even make any profit.
Yeah. So to define a flop is in the movie or game or media place is when you spend more money on the piece of media than you get.
Yeah.
So you flopped if you did not make a profit. And so in this case, like she said, 50 million away from breaking even.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty big flop.
Yeah, but it was, and I don't get it, because it was, I guess maybe because I didn't watch the first one, and so as I was watching it, I had to ask multiple questions as to what was going on, which also, I just feel like that's kind of like what you do in a sci-fi movie. Like, think about the first time you watch Star Wars, like, you have a lot of questions the first time, like, how did we get here? Who are these people? What are they doing? And why are, like, who's doing what? And like, you want to know the history behind it. You want to know the lore. And I feel like that's just how it is. But maybe because they already had a movie before it, some of those questions should have been answered. I don't know. I don't think that's a big, like, mistake within it. Like, I think it's fine that not all of, like, it's not recapping, because, you know, that's pretty annoying to the fans who have watched the first film, and then to see it, like, I already know all of this, like, get to the next part, you know?
I think what could have been part of flopping is, you know, I don't think Blade Runner was the biggest movie franchise or movie
That's true.
of all time. And so, you know, while there is some merit to bringing back something old, I think that there's, you know, it probably just because it wasn't a huge following or a big enough following that was still around to want to come back and see this sequel.
Anyway, so I'll read the little synopsis of it. We'll get into it. I know I'm taking a lot of time on, like, the prep work of it. So the synopsis is: Officer K, played by Ryan Gosling, discovers a long-hidden secret involving a synthetic giving birth, and his search for the lost child leads him on a quest to find the missing Rick Deckard, played by Harrison Ford.
Who was the protagonist of the first movie.
Yep. And so, it's like a picking up of the story from the first movie. But that, when you get deeper into the film, I had a lot of questions at the beginning, like, how did we get here? What are synthetics? What are replicants? Which I will go all into. I'm not going to spoil the end of the movie, but obviously I'm going to talk about it. But you do find out later in the film, like, who Rick Deckard is, like, his personality, not his personality, but his story, and how he relates to this story and everything. So that's all explained within the film. Anyway, so Officer K, he works for the LAPD in the future. So this obviously takes place on Earth in 2049, and by this time everything is very advanced. There's, like, the cinematography in it is beautiful. Like, the entire, like, city is just skyscrapers. Like, you don't even have, like, houses. I'm not talking, like, everything is, like, 50-foot, like 50-floor buildings. It's just all skyscrapers everywhere, and people are flying around in flying cars. It's really dark. It's really rainy. It's gloomy. It's like this dystopian Earth. And so there are things that are called replicants or synthetics. And so they are humans. They are beings that were created in a factory. They are not, like, natural human beings. And the thing about them and the storyline of this movie is that there have never been a synthetic that has been born, like, naturally, like, through, like, childbirth, a woman getting pregnant. And they've always been created in a factory. And usually when they're created in a factory, they're created as adults. So there's not many children running around. But you can order, like, children if you want to raise a child. Like, you couldn't, like, have a child, and so you want to raise a synthetic. By this time in the movie, they're already on, like, I want to say, like, their 11th version of synthetics. And so there are replicants. I'm sure I'm saying that name right. If I'm not, I'm really sorry, but I'm pretty sure they're called replicants. And those are being hunted because they're an older version. And so you have to get rid of, like, the older versions of the synthetics. And so that's what Blade Runners do. So they work for the police department, and that's what Officer K, the main protagonist, is doing. He's going around killing old replicants. And obviously, because they have, like, not a subconscious, but a conscience, they're like, I'm a living person, like, don't kill me, obviously. And synthetics were created to be labor. Like, they were created as, like, slaves for mankind, but eventually they became, like, the populace, the
Yeah, well,
majority.
because I'm guessing that they don't die that easy.
No, I don't. That's a good question that I never thought of. I don't know how they age, and I don't know if they ever die of natural causes. I think
Yeah.
they die because they get outdated, and then they are like hunted.
Like there's never been a situation where they've been alive long enough to find out, you know?
Maybe. That's just a question that I don't have the answer to. Maybe it's been answered, but I personally don't know that.
I think that is interesting though, like, because I mean, we see other pieces of media kind of reflect that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Detroit Become Human is
Yeah.
a very popular sort of secondary version to that, or how maybe, like, you know, what does it mean to be a synthetic human, and like, where is humanity, what is humanity, and what is consciousness.
That's the exact questions that are being asked in this film. Like, what does it mean to be human? Does it mean like you have a consciousness? Does it mean that you are birthed? Does it mean that you are born? Does it mean that you have emotions? Does it mean that you have like authentic memories that have not been implanted? Because like I said, most of them are created as adults, so all of their like childhood memories are just implanted.
Oh shoot,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And so it's a big theme with Officer K, the protagonist, because he has this very strong memory that he's sure that he's lived, but how could he have lived a childhood if he's a synthetic?
Is he a synthetic?
He is a synthetic.
No way.
Well, it's a big question throughout the film. Like you're questioning, and I mean, it's not a spoiler because you're told at the very beginning that he is a synthetic, but then as you go through the story, there are like hints and things here that make you think, wait, is he really a synthetic? He is. I mean, they told you at the beginning of the movie he was a synthetic.
That's interesting though, and so it's just like that question of humanity, like what does make us human?
Mm-hmm. And there's also, so he has a character that he falls in love with called Joy. Oh, and there's a lot of symbolism when it comes to that because there's a woman named Joy and there's a woman named Love. And so Officer K, I'm just going to start calling him K. He buys this woman who is actually a hologram. She's not a synthetic. She's not an actual like physical being. And her name's Joy, but she is mass produced and her purpose is to provide pleasure, is to provide joy. She's supposed to be like a companion, a wife, a friend, a maid, like all of these things that you buy her for. And he falls in love with her and he begins seeing like all of these feelings and he begins to think like, oh, she actually has feelings for me. Like she's a person, like she has a consciousness, right? And it brings up this question of like, what makes a human? What makes a person? Because she's not physical. She has these emotions. She has these feelings, but like, she's not like, she's mass produced. Like you could go and have like 15 Joys standing in front of you. Like, does that make her a real person? And when you get later in the film, you meet this other synthetic named Love, and they fight, and Love kills Joy. And just think about that. Think Love kills Joy.
That is weird.
That's on like...
That's like levels
Yeah.
deep.
It's crazy. But so again, like a lot of these questions are being asked about like humanity, what it means to exist, and I think that's something that's like you see a lot in like science fiction. Again, it comes back like I was saying at the very beginning about and you reveal these like secrets of like humanity.
Yeah, well, I think some of the points of science fiction is to reveal, you know, like because as technology advances, will humanity change?
Yeah.
And will what defines life change?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a topic that needs to be like touched on. I think if you're not every science fiction movie has to touch on that, but it is something that is heavily touched on because that's a big theme of like the advancement of humans.
Yeah, and I always think, I mean, I feel like a lot of like future like science fiction movies, it usually starts off in a bad place for humans. Like, I mean, even talking about the game that you just talked about, I mean, it's a dystopian. Like, the humanity has fallen, and like I feel like that's just, it's sad to think that that's like the natural like progression of like what we think is going to happen to humanity. Like we know that one day we're just going to fall into chaos and madness, but like will we have the capacity that we're showing in these video games and in these movies to come out of that madness? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, I disagree. I don't know. Like, I think that once humanity falls, I think that humanity will probably stay fallen.
I think so too. That's pretty pessimistic views, but
Yeah, well, it's like this. I feel like we're just teetering on the edge, and we're hanging on by threads, and those threads are rotten on the inside. And so once one of them breaks, then they're all gonna break, and then that's gonna be it. And whether it's technology that causes that, or it's humans themselves. I didn't mean to get this deep.
no, but and that's another thing. I think that's what science fiction asks of us. I think it presents these questions and it makes us think of as today, like, if that's what we're headed for, how can we stop it now? And what does it mean to be corrupt? What does it mean to do better? Like, I think that's something that a lot of science fiction like make us ask. And you again, like I keep wanting to use Star Wars because I've seen Star Wars so much, but you again have this symbolism of like light and dark and falling into darkness and being called to the light and all of these things. And it begs those questions of like, will you let like madness, will you let into this chaos and this dark side, or will you follow like the light? Will you be not the savior, but will you be like the redeeming quality of humanity? Like I think these kinds of movies, they make us ask these questions, and that's why people find them so compelling, and that's why people like them so much. I mean, that's why I like them, not just for the future technology, and like I love the things that people create. Like, you could literally create anything because it's the future. And you don't even have to explain it. Like lightsabers, nobody explained that. Like, how do you like?
I mean, they've explained it in like other pieces of media and other forms of media in Star Wars, and given the pseudoscience behind it.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, like anything you want, like a society underneath like 200, 300 miles under the ocean, just at the ocean floor, based on like the 1950s, like just stuff like that. Like, yeah, how you can make whatever you want in science fiction. And I mean, shoot, any piece of technology, any style of technology, like there's pieces of science fiction that are like steampunk science fiction.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even have to be the typical like space, like, you know, space cowboys, space odysseys, or like anything like that. It can be whatever you want, whatever you see as an interesting style of technology. Because science fiction is not just the future. Science fiction is anything that is like, fictional that is scientific in that world.
Yeah, is an advancement, you know? Like, I think that's why it's called science. It has to have some kind of element of science in it. It has to have some kind of advancement or something new that can be played with. And in this film, a lot of questions that aren't answered, and they don't really matter, but I'm going to ask them anyways because they annoyed me. And maybe there are answers out there. Maybe someone can tell me an answer. So there's holograms, right? And so there's a projector on the roof. They're on the projector on the ceiling so she can walk around the building because she's a hologram. She needs a source. He buys like a little pen, and now she can move anywhere. How's she moving without a projector? Because she doesn't, I mean, you can see her like when she comes about, like you see her come, like the light come from the projector. When he has the pen, like she never like shoots out of his pocket or something. Like she just appears. Where's the projector?
That's a good question. My best idea is, I mean, is it just like a pin, like he holds on to it?
Yeah, like you can just put it in your pocket, like it's just like a...
Oh, well, I was going to say it could have been something like if it's like through the eyes or through the mind, like you're projected onto the eyelids.
Okay. No, it's not like that.
No, projected onto glasses.
No.
Google Glass.
Google Glass. Nice. Things like that, and then also like synthetic humans, like they're synthetic humans, okay? They're not robots. Like they have advancements. How they have advancements, I don't understand, because they don't have like metal inside of them. Their genes have just been manipulated. They still have bones, they still have organs, they still eat, they can still take showers.
Yo, we still got bones.
They still have bones, and that's a big thing because they find bones in the... And then you look like a freaking microscopic into like the gene of the bone, and you can see a little serial number on it.
Tell me there's cereal bones?
There's cereal bones. This episode is sponsored by Cereal Bones.
Cereal. It's a nutritious breakfast filled with calcium and all of the eat bones.
Eat bones. Got bones?
Got bone. It's like a Bones mustache instead of a milk mustache. It's a bone. Anyone that doesn't know, there's that. I don't know if anyone doesn't know this, but it's like an advertisement for children that's like, hey, are you drinking milk and getting calcium even if you're lactose intolerant?
Me.
And it's like got milk, and then everyone who it's like a popular person with a milk mustache, like LeBron James with a milk mustache or something like that. It's like got bones, but it's just like a bone up underneath their under their nose.
That's great.
That's terrible.
But like, and how do you create something like that? Also, because they're produced, so you have to think they're commercialized. You can buy a synthetic. Also, there are humans in this film, but humans are very like actual like natural humans are very like revered, and they're very wealthy, and they're like the best. Like they're the top 1%, however you want to say it. They also live on other planets because by this time they've colonized other planets. And so Earth is mostly full of synthetics and maybe few humans that still remain and use the synthetics for their purposes and things like that. But I don't remember where I was going. Oh, they're commercialized. Why don't they all look the same? The easiest way to make a product is to make everything look the same.
Well, there's also the idea of personalizing your products.
That's true.
So like maybe you can customize. I mean, it's weird to talk about it thinking about
Customizing a human.
Yeah, customizing a human. Well, they were talking about the ability to change the genetics of a person, like a baby, before it's born, and predetermine what they would look like.
They figured out that science, I think. I think you can do that now.
It's not recommended.
No. Personally, that's playing God. And
I'm good.
I'm okay.
I'd rather leave it up to chance.
Mm-hmm.
Good old meiosis.
Meiosis?
Yeah. You know meiosis?
Yeah, but that pulled a deep memory out of my brain of like freshman biology.
Yeah, man, meiosis is when the cell splits
into four. Is it meiosis or mitosis?
There's both. So mitosis is the cell splitting in half, and that's for typical like skin cells. But when it comes to like reproductive cells, they split into fourths, so you can get that randomizing on.
That randomizing.
You can hit that random button. Get that dice roll.
Okay, so the last thing I just want to say about the movie, I've kind of explained it, and he's trying to find this child that's like been born, and it's a big deal about the child being born because if synthetics can be born, then they're human. Like that answers the final piece of a puzzle. So like two synthetics
came together and had a synthetic?
That's what they believe. So the thing is, so he goes and searches for Rick Deckard. I call him Deckhart, but that's not his name because I know it just annoys my boyfriend. It's Deckard. So sorry if I mispronounce it. It's Deckard. He goes and finds him, and it's not. He's Harrison Ford. He's in the first movie. It is not said whether he is a synthetic or a human. And it is still debated to this day. And they have differing opinions. The director and Harrison Ford have differing opinions as to what the character is. So about the synthetics, so it's such a big deal about whether synthetics can have a baby, because if they do have a baby, then what makes them different from humans? Then you've basically created like another species. And so humans become like obsolete because now synthetics can do everything that a human can do and can do it 10 times better. So it's a big thing whether they can have children. That's why he goes and looks for the child, because some people are telling him to destroy it, and some people want him to like save it, and so. So
Harrison Ford, his Deckard, is with the mother of the supposed synthetic child.
So she is not there. The mother is not there. The mother died during childbirth.
Okay, so
that's how they found out that there was a child, because they found her bones, saw that she was synthetic because they found that serial number, and knew that she had given birth because of like something in her bones said that she had given birth.
Yes, of course. Birth bones.
But birth bones.
Got bones.
Got bones.
Got birth bones.
So your question?
So Harrison Ford is with the baby then?
He's not with the baby.
Where is Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford is off missing.
Who cares?
Because if he's found out that he had a child, they're going to do experiments on him.
So Harrison Ford was the parent of the child?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
They're going to find out. They're going to find him and be like, experiments on you. How did you create a baby? How did you do it? So he's off in hiding. And the child was sent away into hiding.
So do we ever see the child?
Yes. The last thing I'll say, because I've been talking for a long time, and I know that we've pretty much talked about everything that I wanted to talk about with science fiction. The last thing is just the production of this film was absolutely incredible. Just Google search Blade Runner 2049. The pictures that you will find are absolutely breathtaking. breathtaking. So everything in this film they made. They did not. They used the green screen as little as they could. They created the flying cars. They rented out like whole like land to make like waste dumps and things that because there's a battle in a wasteland, and like they create like these like giant buildings and these facades of buildings and this whole casino, and they made everything, and it's beautiful.
You can always tell.
You can.
It's such an, especially because special effects doesn't hold up, like it doesn't hold to the test of time, because it will always get more lifelike and more realistic until we're just creating humans to take the place of special effects.
Basically.
So, yeah, but it's always so interesting to me to see what was practical versus what was using effects, and then when I find out that a movie was almost entirely practical, like I'm like, oh, do it again.
So I don't want to say anything about like whether it makes if with science fiction, whether if you have like an actual whole set that you're standing in where you're actually like in a place. It's not just a set. I don't know how to say that. I know there's technical terms for it. But I don't want to say which one's better, because I know, again, if you use Star Wars, like everything was done on small scale because they didn't have the technology. They didn't have like
the ability.
Special effects and things like that to create those kinds of worlds. So everything was done on a miniature scale that was like recorded in those ways, and they used other like props and different techniques to create the effects that you see in Star Wars. And I don't want to say one's better than the other, but I think in Blade Runner 2049, I think it has a bigger effect on the actors. So the acting in this film was great. Obviously, you have Ryan Gosling and you have Harrison Ford, which are beautiful and incredibly talented actors. But I feel like you can definitely tell with an actor when they are on a set and when they are actually living in an environment as they are acting, because there's this like immersion that they no longer have to imagine in their head the fourth wall. Like they don't have to create the rest of the space that isn't there. They are in this space, and I feel like that affects their performances and just makes it more lifelike, more realistic, and more inviting for the audience to be like, oh, they're there, I want to be there, I am there. Like, I just think it's interesting.
Yeah.
So those are the last things that I just want to say. Please watch the film. It's absolutely brilliant and beautiful, and the questions that it'll have you asking at the end were just it's great.
All right, well, let's hit those recommendations and get y'all doing something else, watching more episodes of media for the intellectually impoverished with your time. So my recommendation is XCOM. It is a tactical strategy war kind of game where the world has been taken over by aliens, and there's a small resistance force called the XCOM, who's you. I think you're the XCOM? I don't remember. All I know is that it's like a tactical sort of strategy simulator. So if you ever played the Fire Emblem games, they play this style where it's like a top-down, kind of like a board game-esque, but instead of like, you know, sword battles and stuff, you use guns and you use futuristic weapons. It's really, really fun. One of the most difficult games in the world because it's solely based on RNG, which is random number generator. RNG is so like it's to say you have like a 100% chance of getting something, right? Then you get it. So you got like a 66% chance of getting something, and then like it's literally down to a random number generator being like, yeah, cool, you did it, or no.
Wow.
Yeah, based on your numbers. And so it's extremely difficult because of that, because you could literally be standing right in front of someone with a shotgun in their face with an 99% chance of getting it and still miss. Just because you have bad luck.
You're lying.
Not lying. Happened to me.
Bitch.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's really, really fun, though. It's a very interesting style. You don't see a whole lot of games take the tactical sort of strategy format like this. Mm-hmm. Plays really well. It's really well fleshed out. XCOM 2 is the one that I've played. But yeah, really, really great science fiction game. Shoot aliens, kick ass, save the world.
I'm going to recommend Star Wars. No.
Yay!
No,
like you just dipped into it. I'm going to recommend Star Wars.
Star Wars. No, I'm not. You should definitely go watch it. Quick, I get two recommendations. Star Wars, and okay, my real one. I'm gonna recommend Interstellar.
Nice.
I love this movie. It's so it's about. I have the synopsis pulled up in front of me, but I'm still gonna butcher it because I'm not gonna read exactly what it says. But it takes place in Earth's future, where the world has been plighted with another like like drought or dust bowl kind of thing. So like all of the food is in very low supply. And so this man, the protagonist, which is Professor Brand, is
Played by Matthew McConaughey.
yes, played by Matthew McConaughey.
Ooh, Matthew McConaughey.
Ooh. He is tasked with taking him and his team into a wormhole to find the next planet that the human race is going to inhabit, because we can no longer inhabit Earth. And it plays a lot with time. It's not technically time travel, I guess it is, but I as a person who loves time travel, and you guys have heard me talk about it before, this movie does a great job of explaining it without leaving like any plot holes or without like copping out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let's put it this way. The movie doesn't super explain it,
Yeah.
but it does a good job with the idea of time travel.
Yeah.
And it bases it a lot in science.
It does, and that's what makes it good, because it actually has like some scientific research like behind it.
Yeah, it's got it uses a lot of like, it's not time travel in the typical sense of like, oh, I'm going to travel back in time. It's time travel using Einstein's theory of relativity.
Yep.
So
it's really good. I recommend it.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Yeah. So thanks for joining us on this intellectual journey. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Media for the Intellectually Impoverished is produced by Trey Taylor Smith and Miranda Randy Zapes.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MFTII Podcast, or email us at mftiipodcast@gmail.com.
That's MFT, 2 Eyes, Podcast. Thanks for listening.